So again, thank you for joining us. We are going to go ahead and present tonight's performers. We have Dr. Christopher Lukasik, Mackenzie Robertson, Ayana Alston, Dr. Latoya Webb, Leslie Garton, Katie Dukes, Kelsey Riley, and Allison Lehman. So we are going to go a little bit out of order from what our slide presentation is. So we will be starting tonight with Leslie Garton.
All right. Hello, friends. Thank you so much for being here. We'll be respectful of your time. So I wanted to kick us off saying, as Katie said, welcome. I would like to start us off with the vision statement that I provided in March, which feels like years ago, but then months at the same time. So if you had not heard it live yet or hadn't gotten a chance, I'm happy to do so today. So let's get going on it. As I delivered this message earlier than anticipated, I am beyond honored and excited to lead this organization for the remainder of this biennium. As we hit a time of uncertainty and anxiety, I am a full believer of knowing that everything happens for a reason, and I am fully confident and prepared to lead Tau Beta Sigma. One of my mantras as an educator is the saying, students won't care how much you learn until you show how much you care. That being said, dear sisters, know that the National Leadership Team cares about each and every one of you. You matter. You are a part of this massive and impressive collective of active and alumni sisters in which we work to make the collegiate band world a better place. Here are 3 words that I want to lean into for our future. The first word is consistency. Set your goals for the next week, the next month, the next year. Check in with yourself with your progress on these goals. Set mini goals on this. Set goals as a chapter. Make benchmarks for these goals. My goal as national president to you is to be consistent with my communications to you, and you will know important updates as soon as it is available. The next word is reliability. The way you build trust with your music department and directors is by simply being there and doing what is needed. Be reliable. Show up even when you don't want to. It's what separates you from the other college organizations and for your future careers. Be known as reliable, and the sky is the limit. My goal is to respond when you reach out and also reach out to anticipate what you need. To kickstart this, I hope to see you and talk to you at your district conventions, which I very much did, and we had a wonderful district convention season. Thank you for that. The last word I want to focus on for the remainder of this biennium is compassion. This matters more than anything else, to treat others like the way they want to be treated. It is easy to react in anger when we are feeling frustrated when another sister fails to pull their weight, when a professor or coworker makes poor choices that misalign with your goals. It is more difficult and the right choice always when we care about one another and show kindness towards them. I encourage you to keep these words in mind and choose to be kind in the next opportunity that you are given. More than anything, I want you to feel proud when you think of the words Tau Beta Sigma. We have such an amazing crew of chapter visitation associates, counselors, and national council members who are so proud of Tau Beta Sigma and are so proud of you. Let's keep being proud of what we do together. We got this. Respectfully submitted, Leslie Garton, 41st National President, Tau Beta Sigma.
Thank you, Leslie. I see we've got a few more people that are joining us, and let's one way that we can show our appreciation is by giving some love in the chats. I see somebody's applauding. Very nice. All right. So up next, we are going to do just a little bit of a transition. So we have coming up next summer a very fun event. And so we are going to be going to National Convention. So we've got our National Convention hype video here. Hopefully this goes well with audio. I know sometimes it can be a little funky, but let's see. Let's see if we're going to work tonight.
Don't hear any sound, Katie. You can try again and share sound with it. It's sometimes frustrating, or the way Zoom works.
It would help if I clicked the share sound button. Thank you. Let's try that again. All right, so we are excited to see you all in Lexington, and hopefully you will start making plans to be there. We know that for some of you, that's quite a trip. So if you start planning now, it gives you a little bit over a year. I'm really trying to stop sharing because that is an interesting video that's on the next one. So, all right. So up next, we have Mackenzie Robertson. And so I saw you were in the room, Mackenzie. I will give you, do you have something to share with your screen?
I do.
Okay. I will give you those privileges and hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for the confetti, Leslie. I appreciate it. I guess while Katie's working on getting that set up, I'll introduce myself. There's a lot of sisters from all over the country here right now. My name is Mackenzie. I am an alum and life member of the Alpha Z chapter at Bowling Green State University. Alpha what? Uh, so I graduated April 23, and I have been living full-time in Bowling Green since. I'm a full-time teacher right now. Oh my goodness. The Alpha What's in the chat. Thanks, guys. Special shout out to Allison Lee as well. But I'm gonna work on sharing my stuff because it looks like I've got the button ready to go. Cool, cool. Can we see that? I think I've got it. Awesome. Thank you. So what I'm presenting is actually my undergrad research that I completed as an honors project while I was a student at BGSU. I did a lot of research on journaling and social emotional learning and how those two can connect as a teaching practice. I worked with several education faculty, a higher up in the sociology department, and anybody who has involvement with Ball State or Kentucky, you're actually going to recognize the name Jeremy Harmon. He was the director of athletic bands at BGSU during this time, and he had just recently finished academic research, so I used him as an advisor on my project as well. So my research questions mainly relied on how can journaling be used as stress reduction and a classroom management strategy in conjunction with teaching strategies, and how we can find an effective blend where we're not just adding something else into the mix and just screaming out into the void whether or not this practice would be worth it. Because as teachers, and if anybody else in the room has experienced this, something I've experienced this year at least is I've tried like 5,000 things that to try and find something that works in my classroom, and I have struggles finding it because I keep introducing too many things. So I'm teaching kindergarten at the moment, so my my research isn't really applicable because they don't really have the tools to figure out how to journal just yet, but we use it a little bit verbally as well. This became my research as a personal interest in journaling and SEL. The professor that I was working with primarily, he was completing his dissertation on SEL, and he had started sharing a bunch of sources with me, and I got really interested. And I was like, I have to finish this honors project. Can I research with you? And he was totally into it, and we ended up sharing a ton of sources back and forth. And I was originally just going to write this big research paper and call it a day. But I realized the more and more I read, the more I had to share with other pre-service teachers going in. So that's what I did. I set up a professional development session. I worked with a student organization I was president of at the time. It was called Adolescents to Young Adult Association, or AYAA. They have recently switched names. They're now the Future Educators Association, because we like to include everybody who could join. So it's cool that they've evolved since then. But this was kind of the big, we ended up putting together like a brainstorm on a whiteboard, and we took a picture of it, and we kept using it every time we'd come back to the paper. So I ended up actually making a total model of it. It's published in my paper as well, but I put it in the slides. It's the bridge from the mental health crisis in America, and how we can get the information down to the youth of America, how we can develop self-awareness, management, social awareness, relationship management, and responsible decision-making, which are some of the major social emotional learning competencies, and how we can use journaling to do that while also cycling back up to use effective teaching practices to bring the SEL curriculum and competencies into the mix. So we had to do like a whole interdisciplinary thing. I worked with multiple different departments, as I explained before. And with the mental health crisis, I ended up defining it as a situation within the United States with a lack of mental health professionals and resources due to outside events. I had to move my screen so I could read. This is a definition from 2022. I'm sure it has definitely changed in the last 2 years and how we could define the mental health crisis a little bit better. But my research was published in 2022. So I've got 2022 quotes going on. Social emotional learning, if you're not familiar, it's the development of knowledge, skills, attitudes, and behaviors that individuals need to make a successful choice. There are 5 competencies that I rattled off earlier. And there are 9 teaching practices, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. I found best connections with 3, 4, 6, and 7. Those aren't super relevant to our discussion tonight, so I'm not going to worry too much about the practice part of it versus the competencies. This research focused on what we consider Gen Z, born between 95 and 2012. If you're really interested in learning more about Gen Z, I really recommend the book iGen, which if you look right in here, iGen. It's by Jean Twenge, and it was a huge research piece all about Gen Z and their experiences, especially relating to social media and loneliness, in the ideas of FOMO, or the fear of missing out, and how that's affecting teens currently in the education system. and now young adolescents that I'm starting to interact with more frequently as well. So this related to this big question of how do we help? And the session I ended up developing was focused on how journaling can be used to dampen the effects of the mental health crisis. Many mental health professionals recognize journaling as a method for trauma processing and trigger processing. And it gives a lot of practice with problem solving, especially in the realm of school counseling. My article from 2007 was focused on school counseling, and it has a long-standing history within that realm. The two styles of journaling I focused on most throughout the whole research was something called gratitude journaling, which is very simply, what are you grateful for? And inner critic journaling is how you assess yourself. So I had a prompt, and the pre-service teachers I was with, they would write a practice prompt for 5 minutes, and then we talk about the competencies and what we wrote. So the prompt for gratitude journaling was, how has your greatest accomplishment so far changed your life? A lot of people wrote about being accepted into college. I had actually a couple of Tau Beta Sigma sisters there in the room with me that night, and they talked a lot about their acceptance into Tau Beta Sigma and their induction, and holding leadership in the organization as well. This helps you practice self-awareness, social awareness, and relationship skills. Self-awareness, you're recognizing what was positive about your experience. Social awareness, what is acceptable for other people and how we can help share in that gratitude. And relationship skills, because of the cross conversation between the prompts. We also talked about how it can be used in a teaching situation. We talked a lot about history because we had a large influx of social studies educators there that night, and we spoke on how are we grateful for how technology has changed, and we kept finding ways to change the prompt into ways we could tie our curriculum into it, and then tie in your own views and gratitude. Inner critic, the prompt was, how has something this week gone wrong? In what ways do you think it could be your fault? Are you overthinking any of these ideas? Again, on the ideas of self-awareness, self-management, because you have to manage the things you did and how we can grow from those opportunities, and responsible decision-making, which is making you reflect back on the decisions you made and how you could make better ones next time. We ended up talking a lot about Napoleon with this one, and Napoleon struck through Russia and what he could have done better. And once I'm back teaching higher level social studies, that is definitely a prompt and exit ticket situation I really want to do once I'm back in. These were the QR code. I'm not even quite sure still works. If you're feeling brave, you're more than welcome to scan it. But it was a research-based argument that certain styles of journaling can be used as SEL practice for mental health in adolescent ed. They could be connected to the competencies and students that students are expected to develop by the time they leave schooling, and can help connect to several teaching practices that are commonly used in schools now. This was for education majors to scan to give feedback on the session. Like I said, oh, it's still working. That's kind of neat. But yeah. Project strengths, I help bridge gaps between teaching strategies, ed theory, and clinical research, which then has given me a pathway. I eventually want to do a full PhD and do research with kids in the educational field. And I was able to make all these connections solely using literature. So it's proving me, when I'm able to go back up into higher levels of education, I can do clinical setting research on these practices and collect data from actual school children, which I think is really neat. But this time, of course, no human subjects were used. There was another form of journaling called nature journaling that I tried to introduce. It didn't really go over well, so I had to remove that from the project as well. And we had a large discussion about how teachers are not medical doctors. Teachers are expected to figure out a lot these days, and it can become kind of exhausting. Great tie-in for Teacher Appreciation Week. Go appreciate a teacher today if you haven't yet. And for teachers on the call, happy Teacher Appreciation Week. You do a lot that goes unrecognized. I know I definitely do a lot that goes unrecognized. But at the end of the day, you are a teacher, you're not a medical doctor. You do not have to fix problems you do not have the licensure or expectation to fix. What you can do is try and introduce productive strategies into your classroom to help offset these things, but you don't have to ride on the back of it. This is my works cited, and that's it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mackenzie. That was wonderful. I feel like I could relate to a lot of that as a fellow teacher, and happy Teachers Appreciation Week to you as well. All right. Does anyone have any questions or anything that you would like to either drop in the chat or unmute and ask Mackenzie?
You're more than welcome to. I don't bite. And congratulations on your first job offer. I just saw that in the chat. Most surprising thing I discovered in my research. I originally wasn't going for curriculum connections in this. It was more supposed to be like a bell ringer type thing. But the more we dug into things, it was the fact that we could eventually find ways to bridge two of these strategies into curriculum and frame them so you could look at it a different way. And the clinical aspect was really cool to find as well.
All right. Well, thank you again, Mackenzie. I know everyone enjoyed that. All right, next up we have another little vamp moment here while Ayana gets ready. You'll be in the deck. Is that what it's called? On deck? I think that's right. That sounds about right. Okay. So let me get my screen shared, and we have the Iota Gamma chapter installation at Fort Valley State. The sisters there just were officially reinstalled within the last few weeks, and so we are going to celebrate them tonight.
The Fort Valley State University petitioning group of Tau Beta Sigma has seen fit to entrust its fortunes to your hands as the first members of this organization. This is both an honor bestowed and a privilege granted. It is an opportunity worthy of your best efforts. In accepting this responsibility, you knowingly and willingly pledge yourselves to whatever toil and sacrifice is necessary in the best interest of the sorority and to the fostering of its ideals. To shirk is to betray the trust your sisters have placed in you. Officers, your duties are clearly defined in the Constitution. Your sisters believe you are capable of performing these duties with distinction and will diligently support your administration. It is now both my honor and my pleasure to administer to each of your officers, and all of you at one time, the oath of office of Tau Beta Sigma. You will raise your right hand. Say I, state your name and repeat after me. I, in the presence of my sister, of Tau Beta Sigma here assembled, of Tau Beta Sigma here assembled solemnly promise that I will perform the duties of my office as set forth in the Constitution of Tau Beta Sigma. To the best of my ability. And in the best interest of the sorority. In accepting this office. I solemnly promise without reservation. To devote sufficient of my time and energies. To enable me to fulfill all obligations given to me. By virtue of my authority. I hereby reaffirm my ritualistic vows. And rededicate myself. To the promotion of the ideals of Tau Beta Sigma. The maintenance of its traditions. And the preservation of its honor. You may lower your hands. Dr. Thompson, Dr. Nicholson, and Dr. McBride. Although the sponsor and director of bands of a chapter are not regularly elected members of the council, much depends on your guidance and concern in chapter affairs. The continuity of the chapter's activities is the direct responsibility of the sponsor and director of bands, and as you must serve as the connecting link between the incoming and departing members year after year. Your worth to the chapter cannot be measured, nor your honor reckoned. Into your hands, the National Sorority has placed its trust in the future of this chapter. Into your heart, the National Council has put its faith for the success of the sorority experience on this campus. Finally, to all of you, the National Council has entrusted the rights and responsibilities that come with being a chapter of Tau Beta Sigma. Before we move forward, are you prepared to accept the responsibility of growing and sustaining this chapter of Tau Beta Sigma, as well as introducing and initiating new members into the sorority? If so, answer yes. Sisters here assembled, the members of this chapter have been duly initiated, and the oath of office has been administered to its officers. The members have publicly declared that they will work to grow and sustain this chapter by the authority vested in me by the National Council of Tau Beta Sigma. I hereby declare this chapter as the Iota Gamma chapter of Tau Beta Sigma, number 219, and grant to it all rights and privileges attended on such status as stated in the National Constitution of Tau Beta Sigma. The chapter and the membership certificates which you have received are only the tangible and material evidence of your new position in the sorority. You are enjoined to be ever mindful of the greater responsibilities imposed upon you by that position, and to walk ever in the ways of Tau Beta Sigma. On behalf of the National Council and your sisters and brothers within each of the chapters across the nation, I welcome you into the sorority and extend to you our best wishes for a most successful and rewarding future within the sorority.
All right. So congratulations to the Iota Gamma chapter. I know they were very excited to be back on campus at Fort Valley State. And I know the Southeast District is excited to have another chapter. Okay, next up we have Ayana, and I will be finding you on our list and getting your share settings. Okay. Let me make you a co-host so you can share what you've got for us. Let's welcome Ayana.
Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Hello. All right. Let me see. Right. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes. You
Okay.
probably can't see yes, so I wanted to just say yes.
Okay.
Oh, it just went away again. Go
Can you
back.
see it now?
There it is. Yep. You're good.
All right. So first, let me introduce myself. My name is Ayana. I attend Virginia Union University. I'm currently a senior, and I'm a part of the Eta Psi chapter of Tau Beta Sigma. So for our theme, we chose to do performance experience because throughout this school year, we have traveled to many states and we just got a lot of experience that we never had experienced before. So the title of the presentation is Marching Through Memories, Ambassadors of Sound, Music Travels by the Eta Psi chapter of Tau Beta Sigma. Throughout the year, the Ambassadors of Sound Marching Band has been privileged to embark on remarkable journeys, gracing stages across various states such as Ohio, Indiana, and New York. These ventures have presented us with incredible opportunities to showcase our talent and passion for music to diverse audiences, including esteemed artists, producers, and even the electrifying atmosphere of the NBA All-Star Weekend. Each performance has been a testament of our dedication and musical prowess, fostering unforgettable memories and strengthening our bonds as a band. So the first state we went to was Ohio, and this was one of our first games that we had did. On September 3rd, 2023, history unfolded as Virginia Union University faced off against Morehouse College at the prestigious Black College Football Hall of Fame Classic. In a thrilling display of skill and determination, Virginia Union emerged triumphant with an impressive final score of 45-13. This resounding victory not only showcased the team prowess on the field, but also celebrated the spirit of excellence and unity within the Virginia Union community. And these are some photos from Ohio. We had like a little pep rally down here in the right corner. We have some members of the Ambassador Sound in the top left. In the middle, the top middle, that was a picture from when we actually performed halftime. Yeah, and down the left corner, that was from the parade that we had did in Ohio as well. This is when we went to New York on September 19th, 2023. A momentous occasion unfolded as the Ambassadors of Sound had the honor of leading acclaimed American film producer Will Packer into his conference in Manhattan, New York. With pride in our hearts and a vibrant display of HBCU spirit, the band set the stage for an unforgettable event. Will Packer, known for his groundbreaking productions, such as Girls Trip, Think Like a Man, and Ride Along, was welcomed with the infectious energy and musical flair that only the ambassadors of sound could deliver. This collaboration not only celebrated the rich tapestry of HBCU culture, but also marked a memorable fusion of artistry and inspiration. So this is AOS in Manhattan. That's a picture of us in Times Square. And then I included a picture of Will Packer when he came in and introduced himself to us. And yeah, this is us in Manhattan. This is Indiana. In February, the Ambassadors of Sound embarked on an exhilarating journey to Indianapolis for the NBA HBCU Classic, seizing a remarkable opportunity to showcase our talent and HBCU pride on a national stage. While our primary objective was to rally behind our basketball team as they faced off against Winston-Salem, our experience transcended the confines of the court. We were honored to contribute our musical prowess to the event, sharing the spotlight with esteemed artists such as Coco Jones for a stirring rendition of the Star Spangled Banner and the incomparable Jennifer Hudson during halftime. These captivating performances not only underscore our dedication to excellence, but also celebrate the vibrant intersection of music, sports, and community. And these are a few photos from when we went to Indiana. In the top right, there was like a group photo with AOS and then Winston-Salem. Down low, below that picture, it's just a quick photo of Lucas Oil Stadium in Indiana. To the left of that is the halftime show that we did with Jennifer Hudson, and we also performed with Winston as well. Beside that picture is just a cute little photo that the band members took with Jennifer Hudson while we was practicing. And yeah, that's it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed learning about Ada Psi and the adventures that y'all went on this year. That's great. Does anyone have any questions? I see a lot of love in the chat, but any questions that you have? All right, we have up next, for those of you who maybe aren't as familiar, we have a musicianship and music education committee that has been working over the last few years to get recordings of all of our national songs onto our YouTube channel. And so tonight we are going to take just a moment and watch each of those recordings. Like I said, it's on our 4th grader band's YouTube. And so it's always, if you have a smaller chapter, it's great to play and kind of have a little bit more sound with you, or, just to practice on your own. So without further ado, here we are.
We come together, one and all, with music in our hearts. In tea as we serve the band, and always
right, that was lovely. Real quick, something that you can practice daily if you want to. Okay. And up next, we have Dr. Latoya Webb. She's our National Vice President for Professional Relations. So I will hand the floor over to Dr. Webb.
Good evening, everyone. I hope that you all are doing great. Again, my name is Dr. Latoya Webb, and I am the National Vice President for Professional Relations. And I am an alum and life member from Norfolk State University in Norfolk, Virginia, Epsilon Sigma, Chapter 138. Again, it's a pleasure to be here with each of you all tonight. So let me get my stuff rolling here. I think I do have sound, so. Okay. Okay, I think I'm all set. Yes, I can see this. All right. And if I can see it, I think you can see it too. So here we go. Tonight, I'm going to speak to you about Go On, Tell Your Story, which is a powerful collection of real life stories by myself and Dr. Julia L. Baumanis, who is an assistant professor of practice and associate director of bands at Rutgers University. And this picture is of myself and Julia and Julie Giroux, a composer, and just a lovely person all around. So Go On, Tell Your Story is a powerful collection of real life stories told by trailblazing women band directors of varied experiences and identities about the world of professional music and conducting. Pointed, funny, sad, and uplifting stories. Every story in this book offers a unique perspective into the challenging and rewarding world of music education and performance, inviting readers to listen and to grow with each vignette. And below, you just see some information on who the forward is from. Again, Julie Giroux, and our book endorsers, Maren Alsop, Cheryl Floyd, and Shanti Simon. Oops. So the goals of the book are quite simple. Number one, to listen through the lens of women trailblazers of all levels and mediums. And this is elementary, middle, high, collegiate levels of teaching. And number two, to reflect on the shared experiences and how they may differ from your viewpoint or lack of awareness. And number three, to grow from each shared story to expand curiosity, empathy, and respect for each other. And lastly, number four, welcomes all in the spirit of allyship. Everyone deserves a space to feel welcome, seen, reflected, and heard. The target audience for this book is current women band directors, aspiring female directors, and everyone. Everyone has a story to tell, and we can all help each other in this profession. So we are in the business of building true support, community, and understanding. The book is broken down into themes. Julia and I took a research aspect or perspective since we both have PhDs in music education. So we thought about the structure of the book quite heavily based on research and how the information was provided to us. So the themes that popped up after reading everyone's story that submitted were pride, affirmation, togetherness, and happiness. And for pride, these are stories of women who have overcome challenges and achieved remarkable success in their roles as band directors. Affirmation, these are discussions of the importance of validation and recognition in the profession and life. Togetherness examines the supportive networks and communities that have been instrumental in the journeys of women band directors. And happiness are reflections of the joys and triumphs experienced through professional and personal fulfillment. And these are some pictures from our book launch that happened last year at the 2023 Midwest Band and Orchestra International Clinic in Chicago.
Hi, my name is Natalie Smith, and I'm the Assistant Director of Bands at Wake Forest University, and I am here to talk to you about this amazing book, Go On, Tell Your Story, highlighting the voices of women band directors. This book is so many things wrapped into one. It is a reference book, it can be a workbook, it tells stories, it even has playlists. This book is literally everything. One of my favorite parts about this book is it gives you what you need when you need it. You do not have to read it from cover to cover because it's broken up into 4 parts of pride, affirmation, togetherness, and happiness. So if you need a little extra joy going into a rehearsal, you can turn towards the happiness section. If you are feeling isolated, like you're on an island, you can turn towards the togetherness section. And in each section, it tells amazing stories from amazing women that are both heartwarming and heartbreaking, but truly show us that we are not alone. After reading this book, I am left inspired and empowered and excited for women in our field because we're going to keep doing the thing. So seriously, if you have not gotten this book, go on and get it. It is a must, regardless of what gender you identify as. You need this book. And for me today, I think I'm going to turn to the pride section.
So far, the book is doing extremely well. It sold out at the Midwest International Band and Orchestra Clinic in December. And based on, the publisher and everyone, they said that that was the first time that has ever happened, that a book has sold out at Midwest. So kudos to each of you and anyone else that has purchased the book. Go on, purchase it if you don't have it. It's an awesome resource. And these are just some of the other music education conferences that the book has also sold out. So the future goals for Go On is for Julia and I to create a book series. So that's going to be fun. And also, we are going to present about Go On at state, national, and international conferences. We are already submitting proposals for state music conferences, and we already have an international conference on the docket for Ontario Music Educators Association Conference in November of this year. Number 3, to provide professional development opportunities for music educators. If you all can see the far right flyer upper corner, we did a presentation with the CNAFME Ohio University chapter. So if any of your NAFME chapters or just anyone's looking for just presentations or for us to come out, just reach out to myself or to Julia, and we will be more than happy to come and, share about the book and anything else, answer any questions. Also providing a safe space for everyone to tell their stories to help others and to continue inspiring and empowering all in music. We know that part of our mission of Tau Beta Sigma is to empower women in the band profession, and this is certainly doing that. And I just want to say thank you all, and if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer anything. I'll stop sharing my screen so I can see more bubbles here.
Sorry. Thank you, Dr. Webb. In the chat, you can see that Kelsey put the link to purchase if you are interested in that. And it looks like we do have a question from Dr. Thea Murphy.
Thank you. Let's see. What is one of your favorite stories from the book and why? Oh my goodness, there are so many stories of over 100 women. You know, I like the stories where, you know, everyone is just very honest and telling it like it is. I can't pick a favorite, but it's so unique that one of the things that I guess some women have said is that they thought they were going through certain experiences alone or that it was only happening to them. But when you read this book, you'll see that, oh, that happened to me too, or I know someone this happened to. So we're not alone. You are not alone. And that's really important. This is true community for everyone. And again, it's not just for women band directors, it's for everyone. You know, there are many people that identify differently that teach women identifying, you know, band directors. So it's for everyone. How did you personally connect to the stories in the book? Well, my story in particular is about me not getting a position as a drum major, and that was because I identified as a female. And again, there were other stories like that in the book as well. And I remember having one of the contributors who identified as Hispanic, and she was kind of scared to share her story. And it's kind of the same about being a drum major because of how she identified as a Hispanic woman. And, you know, I just encourage her to share the story. You don't have to put your name in the book. So we have people that are anonymous and people that are not, you know, that share their name. And I thought that it would be very powerful for someone who identifies the same as her to, you know, see that story and just to be encouraged, to be inspired and empowered. What part of the writing research process was the most fun or the most challenging? I think the part that was most challenging was my story, because my high school band director, Mr. William L. Prentice, who I call Papa P, passed around the time that it was time for me to write my story. So it was a very emotional time for me. And I would have to say the most fun time was doing the reflection parts of each section of the book. There are different exercises after each of those chapters: pride, affirmation, togetherness, happiness. And then Julia and I decided to close the book with a section that is titled Fermata. And we know that there are different types of fermatas, and various things can happen after a type of fermata. So that is the continuation and the series of the book that will continue to go on. What has been the most rewarding part of sharing this book with the world? I think the most rewarding part is that Julia and I were brave enough to take this step. You know, there have been many women before us in the profession, and, you know, we stand on their shoulders, and, you know, people are standing on our shoulders, and it just keeps going, right? You know, the pathway for trailblazers. So just knowing that, wow, it's 2023 when this book was launched, and that, you know, we can be of service to so many different people in the world. I think that may be it. Well, thank you all so much.
Yes, a big thank you again to Dr. Webb. She is our National Vice President for Professional Relations, and so you'll be hearing a lot from her over the next year as we prep for the 2025 National Intercollegiate Band. So be on the lookout for that, and go ahead and start practicing because audition music will be coming sooner than later. All right. We are going to now see, we saw the iota gamma installation. Now we're going to see the theta gamma installation. And so after that, we'll have Dr. Christopher Lukasic present his dissertation.
My name is Erica Pope, and I am the immediate past national president, where I served as the 39th national president during the 2021-2023 budget. I was sent here today to be the installing officer, and I'm excited about this opportunity. I would be remiss if I did not say thank you to the Zeta Iota chapter from Jackson State University. If you could give them a hand. They did a wonderful job. We want to say thank you to our members who were already initiated previously, who are here this afternoon. They were the ones in the back. And the process today, first, we will install your new officers of the chapter, and then we will invite all of you in as the Theta Gamma chapter. So without further ado, sisters and brothers of the Theta Gamma petitioning group, you have all been initiated as individual members of the sisterhood of Tau Beta Sigma. Now it gives me great pleasure on behalf of the National Council of Tau Beta Sigma to install your chapter officers and then install all of you collectively as a chapter of Tau Beta Sigma. Officers, you can step up just a little bit. The Theta Gamma petitioning group of Tau Beta Sigma has seen fit to entrust its fortunes to your hands as the first members of this organization. This is both an honor bestowed and a privilege granted. It is an opportunity worthy of your best efforts. In accepting this responsibility, you knowingly and willingly pledge yourselves to whatever toil and sacrifice is necessary in the best interest of the sorority and to the fostering of its ideals. To shirk is to betray the trust that your sisters have placed in you. Officers, your duties are clearly defined in the Constitution. Your sisters believe you are capable of performing these duties with distinction and will diligently support your administration. It is now both my honor and my pleasure to administer to each of your officers and to all of you at one time the oath of office of Tau Beta Sigma. You will raise your right hand, say I, state your name, and repeat after me. I, Erica Lynn Pope.
I, O'Reilly Hamilton.
In the presence of my sisters of Tau Beta Sigma here assembled.
In the presence of my sisters of Tau Beta Sigma here assembled.
Solemnly promise.
Solemnly promise.
That I will perform the duties of my office.
That I will perform the duties of my office.
As set forth in the Constitution of Tau Beta Sigma.
As set forth in the Constitution of Tau Beta Sigma.
To the best of my ability.
To the best of my ability.
And in the best interest of the sorority.
And in the best interest of the sorority.
In accepting this office.
In accepting this office.
I solemnly promise without reservation.
I solemnly promise without reservation.
To devote sufficient of my time and energies.
To devote sufficient of my time and energies.
To enable me to fulfill all obligations given to me.
To enable me to fulfill all obligations given to me.
By virtue of my authority.
By virtue of my authority.
I hereby reaffirm my ritualistic vows.
I hereby reaffirm my ritualistic vows.
And rededicate myself.
And rededicate myself.
To the promotion of the ideals of Tau Beta Sigma.
To the promotion of the ideals of Tau Beta Sigma.
The maintenance of its traditions.
the maintenance of its traditions,
and the preservation of its honor.
and the preservation of its honor.
You may lower your hands. Dr. Martin. Although the sponsor of a chapter is not a rarely elected member of the council, much depends on your guidance and concern in chapter affairs. The continuity of the chapter's activities is the direct responsibility of the sponsor, as you must serve as the connecting link between the incoming and departing members year after year. Your worth to the chapter cannot be measured, nor your honor reckoned. Into your hands, the National Sorority has placed its trust in the future of this chapter. And into your heart, the National Council has put its faith for the success of the sorority experience on this campus. Finally, to all of you, the National Council has entrusted the rights and responsibilities that come with being a chapter of Tau Beta Sigma. Before we move forward, are you prepared to accept the responsibility of growing and sustaining this chapter of Tau Beta Sigma, as well as introducing and initiating new members into the sorority? If so, answer yes.
Yes.
Sisters and brothers here assembled, the members of this chapter have been duly initiated and the oath of office has been administered to its officers. The members have publicly declared that they will work to grow and sustain this chapter. By the authority vested in me by the National Council of Tau Beta Sigma, I hereby declare this chapter as the Theta Gamma chapter of Tau Beta Sigma, chapter number 195, and grant to it all rights and privileges attendant on such status as stated in the National Constitution of Tau Beta Sigma. The charter and membership certificates which you will receive are only the tangible and material evidence of our new position and your new position in the sorority. You are enjoined to be ever mindful of the greater responsibilities imposed upon you by that position, and to walk ever in the ways of Tau Beta Sigma. On behalf of the National Council and your sisters and brothers within each of the chapters across the nation, I welcome you into the sorority and extend to you our best wishes for a most successful and rewarding future within the sisterhood. Congratulations, everyone! I know some of you have to run.
So we are so excited to welcome both the Iota Gamma and the Theta Gamma chapters back after a brief time away. And we know that they are going to do amazing things in the Southeast District. And we look forward to continuing to support them as they move into the next phase of their chapterhood. So we are now going to hear from Dr. Christopher Lukasik. I believe I already gave you co-host privileges, so let's welcome Dr. Lukasik.
There we go. Hello, everybody. I'm Christopher Lukasik. I was initiated into the Delta Delta chapter at UMass Amherst in the fall of 2011. I'm one of the Northeast District counselors. Over the past almost 4 years, I've been working towards a Doctor of Education. I found a program at Northeastern University, which is in Boston, Massachusetts, that would teach me how to develop organizations using people and that provided training on the methodology action research, which uses people first in the construction of a research plan and in the I'm losing my train of thought already. This is fun. In the construction of the research plan and the execution of the research plan. Action research takes not just research that we're used to in generating knowledge, but we're actually doing something with that knowledge that we're generating. So I'm using some scary words here, I promise you all. At no point will I be discussing any instances of gender-based violence. My dissertation was titled Using Action Research to Develop Public Policy Work in Gender-Based Violence Organizations. You can probably guess that this surrounds an organization's public policy process on providing advocacy at the state legislature. Quick timeline of who I am. As I mentioned, I spent about I was initiated into the Delta Delta chapter at UMass Amherst. I spent about 13 years between my undergrad and now my doctorate, from 2011 to 2024. I won't run through every single bit. But I wanted to give a sense of how long it's taken to get from my high school graduation to this point, or starting undergrad to this point. Getting into my research, what is the site, the focus, and the importance of my research? So the site I named the Consortium. It's a centralized organization that supports all of the community-based, gender-based violence organizations. Think of like your temporary shelters. Think of the people that help survivors of gender-based violence apply for restraining orders. Those community-based organizations, there's a centralized organization in the state that I studied that provides a lot of assistance, public policy advocacy, technical assistance, human resources development, all of that to all of those organizations. There's 14 in the state that I researched. They're called member programs. And the problem, or the focus of my project, was about member programs being involved in the public policy feedback process. So think of a law or a bill is being discussed at the state legislature. The consortium really wants to give input on that bill, but they need a lot of information from the member programs to say, this is how this bill or new law is going to impact survivors and communities. My research was split up into two investigations, or two stages, I should say. Cycle 1, which investigated the problem, and cycle 1, and cycle 2 that intervened with that problem. And this is important because we want good public policy to support survivors of gender-based violence in society. My research questions essentially boil down to what is happening, why aren't these member programs contributing to the public policy feedback process. And then cycle 2 focused on what strategies will actually help promote participation. There's some sub questions, we don't have to get into those. My research surrounds the idea of knowledge management. In short, that means what is the process that an organization takes to collect information and then turn that information into actual usable knowledge that the organization then does something with. So obviously, thinking about my project, I was investigating how the consortium takes in that grassroots expertise, all that community-based knowledge, brings it into the organization, then transforms it into testimony for our state legislature. So, and then further applying knowledge management to gender-based violence organizations, it can help better deliver services. It could help with cultural competencies and working with marginalized communities. There are specific areas of expertise that can be fine-tuned and sharpened. Of course, you can also then contribute to academic journals and conferences and all that. But overall, the idea of knowledge management is to transform organizational activity. Skipping through all of my research, I talked to a lot of people, by the way. But what were my main findings? We're limited on time. I can't give you the full spiel. Essentially, my findings surrounded 4 different findings. I keep saying findings, but time. Nearly every participant that talked to me said that there's just not enough time to participate in public policy work. We're too busy helping the people that walk in the door or call our hotline. 501c3 status, a lot of the executive directors in the programs that I talked to, they were concerned that if they do participate, that they are going to get dinged for engaging in political activity as a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Some people even told me that, public policy is not what I want to do. That's for the state coalition to do. I want to just help the survivors that come in the front door or call the hotline. And then kind of related, there was just some general disinterest. I'm not interested in that. I don't want to do that. So what did I do from taking those 4 major findings? Let me go back for a second. Those 4 major findings, I started to realize that the consortium was putting a lot of information down. There was really no opportunity for the member programs in the communities to kind of talk about whatever they wanted to talk about. So taking all of that, what did I do in constructing my cycle to action steps? I held office hours, no agenda, open Zoom room, 2 hours every Monday. Drop in for 5 minutes, drop in for the whole 2 hours, and come tell us what's most important to you. I also allowed for a recurring prompt on their website, the consortium's website. Maybe I'm not someone to really talk, and I just want to write out what's really frustrating me today. So that prompt was there. You could fill it out once a day, you can fill it out once a month, you could fill it out 10 times a day or 10 times a month. But I wanted to give that written option as well. And then there was need for centralizing all of that information. So we wanted to implement an information database as well. Let me cut to the chase. The only thing that really worked was office hours. The recurring prompt got no responses, and the information database quickly became unattainable to regularly upkeep when there is a 4-day-a-week demanding schedule with the state legislature. So office hours were super easy. We just opened a Zoom room and waited to see who came. That was the only thing that got engagement throughout my research period. It was about 6 months or 2 months for the office hours, but there was a 6-month window that was open for office hours. Generally, when I was sitting down with people and asking them for some feedback on those action steps, what were they saying? A lot of people just love sitting down and talking with other people. I was down in the southern part of the state, but someone from the northern part of the state was coming in talking about a problem that I was also experiencing in the southern part of the state. So it was really cool to hear that random advocate working in the southern part of the state, is experiencing the same problem as someone that's really, really far away, 3-4 hours away. It allowed people to feel like they were not on an island, as I just mentioned. Those were specific words that were said. There was an opportunity for people to learn about what these organizational activities, as I was mentioning, these specific, how-tos that, the organization up north was doing that I then learned about in the South, so I could bring it back to my organization and update how I do my job. That's exactly what knowledge management seeks to do, is to really get organizational activities to sharpen and be more effective. What was said about the prompt? People just didn't want to write. A human conversation was way more interesting than writing down something, especially if my job is filling out paperwork day after day. I don't want to write more. And some people just they didn't want to actually engage. They just wanted to listen to all the problems or or not just problems, the successes about what's going on in communities. So they just logged on, camera off. Maybe they didn't even put their name in Zoom, and they just listened. And then the really funny one was I was talking with one of my core team members from my dissertation site, and she was like, I have to say, when you were talking about the prompt, I was like, what prompt? Which just shows you how ineffective it was. Oh, I think that's it. There's my dissertation research, friends. do any of you, I don't have a last slide that says questions. I apologize. Does anyone have questions? I will just say, I really hope that this has shown that you can, do other things other than music in the sorority and still contribute to, exciting things that our members are doing. If you're wondering how this can apply to your chapter, I will say, if you need those types of meetings where you need to idea generate or anything like that, open, no agenda. Those types of conversations work very effectively, especially when, you're not, the person running the meeting's not saying, we're going to talk about this and this and this, just letting people come and talk about whatever they want, really effective.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lukasik, for joining us tonight and presenting your dissertation. I enjoyed it the first time and I enjoyed it even more this time. So congratulations again. If you have any questions that maybe you weren't prepared for in the chat, you are welcome to message Dr. Lukasik privately. Right now, we are going to take a 5-minute bio break, stretch break, just kind of a screen break for about 5 minutes. When we come back, we will have a few more presentations and then we will wrap up our time together. So we will see you in about 5 minutes.
I'm going to put a song on for the break, if that's okay with you, Katie. All right, we'll see what I can come up with. I have something in my brain. We'll see.
I also have a presentation, a countdown timer.
Okay, go for it.
But there's
Do you
no
want to pause the recording? That'd be lovely. It's all good. Be great. There it is. I don't remember where it was. All right. Thank you, friends. Thank you for taking the time to spend with us this evening. We know that you have choices for all your activities and things, so thank you for spending the evening with us. We hope it's beneficial. So as we have been gaining knowledge and filling our brains with all the things Tau Beta Sigma, I want to talk to you all a little bit about stress management, as we could always use a refresher or need for that. As Katie said, this time of year, just any time of year, just gets stressful. So I want to talk to you in a brief bite-sized portion about stress management. I do have a larger presentation of this if you would like me to zoom into your chapter anytime. If you're feeling some chapter stress and you need some help with that, I'd be happy to come in and do the 45-minute presentation. Just let me know, hit me up. You can find me on all the social medias and everywhere else. So good deal. Maybe. There we go. So let me get rid of that. Go away. Okay, so first talking about the perceived stress scale. It's a classic stress assessment instrument. This tool helps us understand how different situations affect our feelings and our perceived stress. So in this scale, I won't be asking you the questions today, but you can find a lot of PSS tests online with different questions. It asks you about your feelings and thoughts. It's a very wonderful 5 to 10 minutes spent if you're just feeling overwhelmed with the weight of the world. So in each case of those, you'll be asked to indicate how often you felt or thought a certain way. Some of those questions are similar. There are some differences between them, and you should treat them each as separate questions, but yeah. So moving on from that. So speaking of stress still, what is stress? Stress is your body's way of responding to any type of pressure or demand. And this is one of those, if I'm asking the question, that means no. Is stress bad? Not all stress is bad. Depends on the situation and how it is handled. Stress is how we move forward with our life. There's different types of stress, which we'll go through as well. It's just usually perceived as bad. So going into that, moderate levels of stress may actually improve performance and efficiency. I don't know if you all are like me and probably similar in procrastination wise, just on doing things. I would say it gets better as you get older. Maybe, maybe not. I always have the saying when if I'm not getting something done that I should, if you wait till the last minute, it takes a minute. That's not a good, don't do that, but it's something we all do. But that stress helps that efficiency and helps things get done because of putting that on yourself. Too little stress may result in boredom. If you're feeling bored, you're not feeling challenged enough in some way. Too much stress, but then in retrospect, too much stress may cause an unproductive anxiety level. I know we've all doom scrolled on the TikToks and the Facebooks and things like that when we just have too much stuff to do. So when you're looking at deadlines and just setting up good guidelines and things like that, you want to find that moderate level of stress and find that sweet spot. And that just depends on the person. So when we respond to high stress levels, you have increased, it's called cortisol. It interferes with your learning and memory. You just get really stressed out and have to focus on the stress at hand and can't really focus. It makes you sick sometimes. I'm sure even now, like I'm a teacher and I've been a teacher for a long time now. My family will comment that I get sick in December after school's out every year just because I bottle everything up for concert season and everything like that. I'm like, I'll get sick when I have time. And my body says, bet, that's fun. So sometimes your weight increases because that stress doesn't help you manage that weight as well as what you want with your metabolism, everything like that. You may have higher blood pressure, higher cholesterol, heart disease, stroke, etc. So all the bad things with that. So coping with stress, the negative ways to do this are a lot of ways, drugs, overeating, things like that. Using these methods to cope only adds stress, more stress to the body. Overeating caffeine, sometimes we'll just pile on caffeine where we just become unregulated. But if we think about positive coping methods, and sometimes it just doesn't feel like time, like we have time to do that, but you just got to figure out prioritizing and seeing what you can get done with the time you have based off of what you can do. So meditation, yoga, positive attitudes, time management, just writing down your schedule, figuring out what you are actually capable of compared to what you are trying to do is really important. Taking quick breaks, things like that. So talking about self-care real quick, the practice of taking action to preserve or improve one's own health. Sometimes it feels selfish, but please be selfish whenever you can. It's really good for you. It's a routine, it's a lifestyle. This includes regular sleep, exercise, relaxing, and I know there's nothing worse than yelling to yourself to relax, but if you just focus on some breathing exercises, which we'll go into in a second, that'd be great. Eating well, sometimes that's not always easy, but it's very important to do. And sometimes when you are de-stressing, that's okay to have a junk food that you want or things like that. I'm not saying don't do that because we all have those cheats that we want as well. That is helpful. It may not make your body feel good, but it makes your mind feel good. So if you feel like you're too stressed to do any of those things, kind of just prioritize, sit down, make yourself sit down and prioritize what you need. Set a goal, make a plan, write it down. If you sit down and do that, that will just take 2 minutes compared to walking, like thinking and stressing about it. Get support, have your friends, have your family members just understand that you're stressed rather than blocking them out. Talk to them about it if you're able to. Reward your actions, reward that you're trying, not necessarily the results. We are all human. We are really bad at accepting others' faults while not accepting our own. And the first step in recognizing that is very important. So turn your bad days into good data. We've all think about what did not go well, write down what was frustrating, think about for the future what you can do to avoid that. Don't call it a loss. Don't take the L for it, but really focus on what you can learn from it. So Some different things to do for relaxation if you are not able to do that hour-long yoga session with goats at that place 20 minutes away from where you live and things like that because life. You want to think about just some short breathing exercises, and that is as simple as your meditation, just taking 2 minutes. When I teach kindergarten through 6th grade. In 5th and 6th grade specifically, my bands, before we start playing every day, I make them breathe 3 times in through their nose, not at the same time, but then 3 breaths in, 1 breath in, 1 breath out, and just have them focus on their breath. And that helps center them so they can forget about all the other things outside of my music room and they can get moving. If you want to do a more extended one, there's lots of videos you can check out and see how those work. But it's really just about being completely aware of what's happening within your body and what's happening around you. This helps you lower your cortisol levels. It helps return your body back to quote unquote normal, whatever that is called. There's some different online resources. Go ahead and jot these down if you would like. There's these apps as well. There's Breathe to Relax. I don't know why they don't have the E in there, but it's driving me crazy. Happify, Personal Zen, Calm. I'm a fan of the Calm app myself. That's what I use sometimes. I do get annoyed when the Calm app, I ended up disabling the notifications because it always tells me to calm down at the worst times that I probably should even more. But once again, I'm not good at listening to myself, but I'm good at telling you about the things. So that's a thing. So here's a quick scenario we'll go through. Please type in the chat on your feelings with this just to have involvement. So your flight home is delayed a full day, leaving you with no place to sleep and you miss work and or school. What is your level of stress? 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest. We'll take a second. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. So notice that everybody has a different number up. That is called perceived stress. Maybe that has to do with having the experience before. Maybe that has to do with being worried about that possible experience and just ramping up your anxiety about that possibility of something you cannot control. So as we talk about everybody perceives stress differently, that is absolutely how that works. So some de-escalation techniques. So think about if you're at the airport and you're stuck there, you have to think immediately of what you can do at that point. It's the first step is deciding what things you can control and then what you cannot. So take a breath, take a walk real quick. As you take a breath, physically reset, get yourself out of that situation if you're able. And if you're not able to get out of the situation, if you're not driving, close your eyes, take a breath, reset your mind frame. I know easier said than done, but that is so much better than instantly reacting to the situation. So next part, control. Evaluate what you can control. Are you ready to talk to an agent? Would you rather text the app and get a solution? If you need to take another breath, walk, don't hesitate. Exploding will only make you feel bad in the end. So from there, with that control, you want to take care of your things at home, calmly explain the situation. They will still happen. Figure out how you can maybe not benefit from the situation. Ask for grace. Have people have enough banked with people that they can understand this is beyond your control. Things like that. And you're gonna be more mad at yourself than the person that you will be explaining things to. So going along quickly with these different coping skills, you have preventative versus instant. So preventative has many steps. Instant needs 1. So relative to these two, so preventative, an example could be getting a good night's sleep, just making that a priority. Instant would be deep breathing, counting down from 10, closing your eyes, things like that. So last things. So here's the handy acronym to go along with it. You want to avoid as much as you can. You want to reduce your stress, and through that, with preventative maintenance, some healthy decisions. But ultimately, I'm looking, I can't see any of you on screen, but just remember, you're here, you're doing okay. The fact if you're worried if you're okay or not, that means you're doing okay. You're wanting to learn how to avoid and manage stress. And so you are doing the thing. So just hang with it and remind yourself of that every once in a while, please. You are doing awesome. Hang with it. Here's ways to get a hold of me. Don't mind my handwriting on there, but there's my email. I'm usually on our social media all the time for stuff. Sometimes wearing a purple shirt, sometimes not. I will put these different videos in the chat as well for you to use later as you would like, but cool. Any questions for me? As we're all taking a deep breath within ourselves and figuring it out. All right. I'll put those in the chat as soon as I stop sharing. Okay. Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it. Back to you, Katie.
Thank you, Leslie. I know that I definitely took some notes, and I'm going to put a little sticky note on my desk that says arm yourself. Although that might not be the best thing out of school, so maybe I'll come up with something a little bit different, but
That might be a trip to the office real quick.
maybe just arm, maybe just a picture of an arm. That would just be strange. So they know I'm strange there. All right, so coming up next, we have myself, Katie Dukes, your National Vice President for Special Projects, and we are going to be talking about our national programs and focus on 5. I know that we have a lot of chapters that have just had elections, and you've got some new officers who are ready to hit the ground running, and so hopefully you can get some ideas or get at least your feet wet in exactly what your office pertains. So here we go. So our national programs, we have several that have been around for a while. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about each one. But each of our national programs fulfills the mission and vision statements of our organizations, and then they also align with our chapter and district programs that we have. So the Women in Music Speaker Series, it is our hallmark national program. It's something that has been around since 1997, and since that time, we see women in music speakers at all district and national conventions, and then now we know that that's part of our blue stripe is having the women in music speakers on each of your campuses. And so it's been a really great opportunity to see the different types of music fields that are represented. I know at my first national convention, we had Cora Dunham, who was the drummer for, was it Beyonce, on her tour that she had just had. And so that was a really great experience to hear from her. And then, you know, last summer in Orlando, we had a couple of a musical group, and then we also had a solo artist, and just hearing from them and their experiences was really inspiring. So it's been for me personally, a great opportunity to, as someone who's not a woman in music, to expand my horizons. And hopefully you've enjoyed meeting and hearing from new people as well. So we also have our crescendo. And as we know in music, a crescendo starts small and gets big. So that's kind of the idea here, because we're encouraging younger musicians to continue playing and performing, and of course growing just like a crescendo in their love for music throughout their journey in, you know, their education, and then continuing on into college and hopefully becoming our future Tau Beta Sigma members. Something you may be interested to know is that this actually started out as the Scouting for Music program. And so a lot of the the partnering back then was with Girl Scouts getting their music badge or different badges that they had, and it expanded to all young people as the Crescendo in 2015. And so, there's a lot of different ideas that we see. We see things such as chapters going and playing on a Friday night with a high school football, at a high school football game, playing in the stands with the band there, or doing an instrument petting zoo for a local elementary school. The Gamma Xi chapter at Arkansas State University this year did something really cool. They partnered with the local theater in their area and turned it into a really neat event to where it wasn't just the play that was happening. They also brought in the musical aspect. So definitely, if you have time to scroll through Discord, or you could just go to the Gamma Xi social media pages and check that out. All right. Now, coda, we know, is at the end of music, and so that is where we interact with the elderly members of our communities, and a lot of times we see that chapters interact with senior citizens groups, retirement homes, that kind of thing. And as long as both with Crescenda and coda, we want to see instrumental music happening. Obviously, during COVID, as you can see in the photo here, our chapters had to get a little bit more creative, but we can, if you look real close, the chapter here used water bottles to make rice shakers. And so they still had music going as they, as you can see on the TV in the photo, they were doing some different rhythms and things to interact with the community members of that home. And so there's a lot of times we'll see caroling, we might see a little recital or concert that happens, but just engaging with those members as they, a lot of times, they're kind of over in their little community and they don't get a lot of interaction from the public. So building those relationships is really a fun thing to do. Okay, our other program that we have is the For Greater Practice program. And so this initiative is to promote musicianship and proficiency in performance for all members. So we all know the importance as musicians, we know the importance of practicing. And so having this national program and this initiative is a great way to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that we are priding ourselves in our musical accomplishments. So you can see on here the specifics for the program. There's a tracking sheet that we have, and in order to complete the program, at least half of the chapter members must reach a minimum of 4 hours a month. And so I know that can feel a little bit tedious, but there is within the National Programs Guide and on the Tau Beta Sigma Focus on 5 website, there is also a downloadable tracking sheet to where it's pretty much plug and play. So it's very easy to navigate there. And same thing, if your chapter is interested in doing that, especially for the Black Stripe, it's a great opportunity to reach out to other chapters who have a really great handle on managing their practice and seeing how they maintain the records and everything like that. It's just a great opportunity to interact with some of our chapters from across the nation. All right, so specifically looking at this year's campaign, we have already completed the Red Striped. That was the kind of beginning of the year function. So we've got our paperwork, risk management, getting a Focus on 5 liaison, all of that kind of more administrative side of things, I guess you could say. That was due back in October. So if you missed the deadline back then, which was only a handful of chapters, but if you missed the deadline back then, it's okay. Just make sure that you're looking forward to that for this coming year. It'll be around the middle of October again. And make sure your chapter gets those pieces submitted. There are a few different places where you've got to do things. So just keep an eye out on our social media for that. The white stripe, you can, as we talked about with the coda and the crescendo, you can host an event for either one. You can also do both. We have a lot of chapters that do crescendo in the fall, coda in the spring, or vice versa. I know that there are chapters who do like holiday music, sing along, playing music for the elderly at their at a senior citizens home. And then in the spring, the chapters will help with like the instrument tryouts for their local middle school or something like that. So for the White Stripe, complete those one of those programs. And then in the Discord, there is on our Focus on 5 website, but then also listed here, you'll want to share photos if you're able. Just a little teacher trick that I like to use is putting like a smiley face emoji or something over. If you're looking at if you've got pictures with young children, you can just put just a little emoji or something over their face, and that will help with the keeping the confidentiality for you, but still allowing you to submit the photos. And please provide the details of the event, including the date, and answer some reflection questions. If you need ideas of projects, you can just scroll through some of the White Stripe submissions and see what other chapters are doing. Blue Stripe, we have our Women in Music speaker. I'm sorry, I failed to say this on the previous slide. The White Stripe is due June 1st. The Blue Stripe is also due June 1st. So red was due back in October, but everything else you've got until June 1st to get that in. Hosting a Women in Music speaker. I know some schools, this might be your last week. But the great thing is, as we tonight are meeting across the country with Zoom, you can host a Women in Music speaker through Zoom. We just ask that you make sure that you are advertising the event, and please include your band, campus, or wider community to allow for more people to hear about the great things that women are doing in music. So same thing here, you'll share on Discord some photos, details of the events, and answering your reflection questions. We've seen some really neat things come out of the Women in Music speakers at the chapter level. We've seen panels. We've had a chapter did a little recital. Their speaker put on a recital, but then also did a presentation as well. That was really neat. And then one chapter has a Grammy nominated alumni who was able to join them, and so that was really exciting. All right, our Green Stripe again is due June 1st. This one took on a different turn this year. It's hosting an event that is a leadership development event for members of the band program. So as I've been scrolling through Discord, I've seen quite a few chapters that have been really cultivating the leadership in their band program by hosting for example, I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Before they had like section leader tryouts or drum major tryouts, hosting those kinds of like workshop-y type practice sessions for the candidates to get practice, leading a group of people, and then getting feedback from some of the graduating seniors. And then what we've also seen, of course, is just your typical workshop setting where the director of bands or someone from the campus community, the activities board, something like that, presented to the band or to the leadership just on whatever topic they felt was beneficial. A lot of it had to do with time management, goal setting, conflict resolution. So, if you weren't able to complete one of these this year, perhaps you can look ahead to next year and see what might be a good fit for your chapter in your band program. Same thing here, you'll share the details on Discord and answer some reflection questions. Okay, the Black Stripe, that's what we were talking about with the 4th grader practice initiative. In the tracker, you will want to make sure that you filled that out completely. And then along with that, at the conclusion, once you've collected all your practice hours, you'll want to have a little mini recital to perform your rehearsed pieces. So again, if you have not you know, if you're already home or your school is wrapping up this week, it's not too late. You can still perform through Zoom. I know that may be a little different, but hey, you're still performing and showing off your talents and what you've been practicing for the last 3 months or more. So for here, again, you've got the reflection questions, the photos, but then also make sure you attach the completed tracker. I do go in and check just to make sure that you've completed all the pieces there. And again, that's due June 1st. Okay, and then our final part of our Focus on 5 campaign are our liar pieces. So each liar piece has to do with kind of a different bonus element of our sorority. So the left liar piece, and again, these are due June 1st, but the left liar piece is to apply for awards. We love recognizing you and your chapter members and celebrating you and the great things that your band members have done. So if you go to the TB Sigma website under the awards, you can find the application for some different awards that we have available. So we've got the Academic Achievement Program, the Service Certificate, and for Greater Band Awards. These do not necessarily have to go to a member of your chapter. They can go to any band member. So we've had quite a few this year that were recognized, and you know, maybe that relationship that has been developed through these band members receiving awards could, who knows, they may become sisters in the next year or two. So the center liar piece for each district is a little bit different. A lot of these have already passed simply because of the nature of what the requirements were for the piece. So if you did participate in one of these district events or the programming for the Center Liar piece and you have not yet submitted it on Discord, please make sure you get that done because we want to definitely give you credit for the work that you've already done. Okay, so we've got Midwest, North Central, and Northeast here, and Southeast, Southwest, and Western. So we have, like I said, each of our 6 districts represented here. Our district VPSPs are going through the Discord here and they are awarding the pieces. So if you haven't heard back from your district's VPSP, make sure that you tag them or connect with them so they will know to look for your submission. Okay, and our right liar piece is our final piece here, is to interact and participate in online workshops and events, which is what you're doing right now. This is our final event for the year. We've got our WavaX, and hopefully you were able to catch one of the previous events that we had. We had our Women in Music online series. That was really great. We heard from Dorothea Taylor and Sarah Remoy. They played for us and they talked with us a little bit. An evening to celebrate music was really fun. I loved just how everyone was hyping each other up when we were listening to the different performances. Our development and transitions workshop was really informative, and we've heard a lot of great feedback from chapters about what they want to see in the future. And of course, tonight we have our WavaX event. So after tonight, you'll be able to share highlights from the events, and the attendees will respond to the questions. What were the key takeaways and how did the chapter grow from the experience? So you've got just a few weeks to get that in before June 1st. And then at the end of our presentation tonight, I will post the sign-in sheet to make sure you get credit for that as well. So the final piece of this is that we do sometimes award bonus pieces. And so if we see that your chapter has done something really amazing, gone above and beyond, and maybe you're just, you know, missing a liar piece here and there, we can give you those bonus pieces and recognize your progress and help you fill up your Focus on 5 campaign. So if you are not yet a part of our Discord, please feel free to join. You can either find the link for that on our link tree or on the Tau Sigma website on the Focus on 5 page. And so that is what I've got for you tonight. Remember, June 1st is our deadline for this year. And then coming up this summer, we will, oh, I'm trying to stop sharing my screen. Let's see. Coming up this summer, you will see our challenges that we will have available for next year. Some will be the same, some will be a little bit different. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. All right. I know that we've got some weather going through. So if you do need to hop off, please just leave a note in the chat and we'll make sure that we grab your attendance from there. We want you to get credit for that. But please be safe and make sure that you're watching the radar. All right. Next we have the loyalty song that we are going to listen to before Kelsey tells us some VPCR things.
We honor you this day, for the future our shining red. Your past of history bold, today's opportunities we find unfolding. We stand for things held dear. May we become with each new year greater, grander, and the best of them all. We who are loyal, devoted to service, we who stand out above the rest. Ota Beta Sigma, may we become the best. Music, our common tie, which binds us side by side. Melody, harmony, and fun. We share our joys with everyone. We have the strength to lead and fortitude to serve and lead. Give us courage to stand for all that we hold secure. We who are loyal, devoted to service, we who stand out above the rest. Ota Beta Sigma, may we become the best.
All right, they sounded great. And what's even better is that they were masked up and still sounded that awesome. So again, that's part of our musicianship, music education and musicianship committee. I always say it backwards, and I know Leslie does too. But so feel free to catch those on our YouTube channel. So we have Kelsey coming up. She's our Vice President for Communication and Recognition.
Hi, friends. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a update about some of my vision and goals for the year, for the next year to finish up biennium. As Katie said, I'm Kelsey Riley. I am your National Vice President for Communication and Recognition. I was appointed in March and came on to the National Council, and so I'm excited to finish out the biennium strong. There we go. So I use she, her, hers pronouns. I'm a life member of Omega at the University of Arizona. I was initiated into Omega in the fall of 2008. And I currently reside in Raleigh, North Carolina. Technically Durham, but most people know where Raleigh is. And then I work as a postpartum doula, which if you don't know what that means, it just means that I get to snuggle with babies all night long. So it's a fun job. And I apologize, my cat has not left me alone all night, so you might see a surprise appearance, which is pretty par for the course. And then, as you can see, my communication information is down below. So if you ever need to get a hold of me for whatever reason, please don't hesitate to reach out. I am happy to interact and communicate with you in whatever manner that's easiest for you. Just know that I have kids, and so texting is sometimes easier than calling. So an overview of my goals for the biennium, for the rest of the biennium, is to enhance communication strategies, foster a sense of community and recognition, and promote our values and achievements to both internal and external stakeholders. And what I mean by that is, with the internal stakeholders, those are people like our members, our alumni members, anyone who has to do with the sorority itself. And external stakeholders are those who might supply grants or donate to the organization that don't necessarily have membership ties themselves. So this is just a quick overview of our vision and mission statements. Particularly, I wanted to focus on the fact that my role really, oops, that was my cat. My role focuses on fostering connections and creating a meaningful experience for our members, band directors, college communities, and the band world at the end of our vision statement. So I'll go into more detail in the next slides. Some key focuses on my role and vision are being able to have transparent communication. So whether that's via our social media channels or our Tau Beta Tuesday newsletter, I want to make sure that information is flowing freely between the national leadership, chapter officers, and members, which really goes in line with Leslie's vision as president this year, or this for the rest of biennium. I also want to focus on external outreach, so that is not just within our membership, but also those organizations, other music organizations, educational institutions, or partners that could possibly provide monetary support or social support in that manner, wanting to make sure that we're putting ourselves on the board and being a relevant organization to others. And then the next thing is recognition programs. So establishing and enhancing the previous recognition programs like our scholarships and awards, and acknowledging the contributions and achievements of individual members, chapters, and alumni alike. And this is goes to this plays into our social media spotlights. Like we just highlighted our two new petitioning groups, our new active chapters, I should say, and things like that that can really highlight those members that on a different level. Some ways that I want to do this is focusing on enhancing the communication channels. So implementing the modern communication tools that we have at our disposal. I don't want to commit to this quite yet, as we were waiting on some legislation, but I think there's word now that we can tap into TikTok. So spoiler alert, look out for that soon. And then we have developed the Discord for the Focus on 5 and campaign, and being able to tap into our membership communications in that capacity. And then the second thing is collaboration and networking. So like I said before, I want to make sure that we're really collaborating with other organizations, other music organizations, not just within ourselves, but so that we can really tap into the resources that are available to us. And then as well as just those networking opportunities among members, chapters, and alumni. And then just expanding those conversations that we can have, whether it's information building or the idea exchanges, connecting our membership with similar interests or goals, and then fostering a supportive community atmosphere. And then finally, the feedback mechanisms that we have. I want to continue soliciting feedback in order to regularly gather input from our members. And like I said, those stakeholders that aren't necessarily specific members of the organization, whether it's active or alumni or life members. But it just ensures that the programs and initiatives that we have are relevant and responsive to the needs of the organization. So I should have said before that this was going to be short and sweet, but to recap, overall, my vision aims to strengthen the bonds within Tau Beta Sigma, elevate its profile both internally and externally, and empower members to communicate effectively while feeling valued and recognized for their contributions to the organization and community. And there's a nice little picture of Leslie presenting an award at probably Midwest. Yeah, with our previous national executive director, Steve. And then finally, here's some resources. The first is the Discord. If you're not a member already, then you can join it. Then just a couple of links. If you want to pause the video, if you're watching this recording afterwards, you can take a picture or screenshot it. You can do that now if you'd like. And then the last one is our social media spotlights link. So and that's the same QR code. So if you want to save that for later, we'd really like to highlight what your chapters are doing, what your membership is doing, and recognize you in that capacity. And then lastly, thank you for listening. This is my contact information again. So if you need to get a hold of me for whatever reason, or just not a reason, if you just want to say hi, I would love to hear from you. And yeah, I hope I hear from you all soon, as we got some deadlines coming up. Any questions? I'd like to say questions, comments, concerns. I like that you like all my cats. All right, I'm going back on mute.
Thank you, Kelsey. We have enjoyed having Kelsey as part of the National Council over the last few months. So I look forward to seeing all of the great things that she talked about in the next year. And our final presenter for tonight is Allison Lehman. She is our National Vice President for Membership and Expansion. Following Allison's presentation, we will listen to the affirmation and close up our time together. So take it away, Allison.
My Zoom froze. It's trying. I'm frozen.
You're not frozen, just the screen.
Right, but I
It's
can't.
still fun. I didn't know if you knew we could hear you, but that's cool either.
Oh,
way.
you can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've pressed. So my screen currently looks like I see you moving. It says your screen share is loading, and it says I'm still on mute. So thank you for saying I was not mute.
Okay, I was just like, just wanna make you clear. You're
all right.
saying lovely things so far. So
as I'm waiting for my screen share to get loading, I want to first off say thank you, Katie, for the opportunity to talk a bit for each of you this evening. I know I'm the last one. I know it's late, and I'm going to be efficient in my communication once my screen decides to share. That seems to be the limiting factor right now. It still says it's loading. Someone shout out if you suddenly see the screen, and I'll get going, but well, I'll actually get going as we get started, and I'll skip over a couple of slides. So what I'm going to be talking about is similar to Kelsey. So I'm going to be going over what the remainder of the biennium looks like for membership and expansion. So the first thing, and I'm doing this now just from memory because I can't touch anything on my computer. The first thing is just an introduction for myself. So I am Allison Lehman. I am a life member of the Eta Gamma chapter at Boston University. I was initiated in spring 2009. So I'm celebrating a 15th anniversary this year, which is exciting. I grew up and live in and work in New Jersey. I really don't know why it's not sharing or letting me do anything. I'm in New Jersey and I work in healthcare administration. What I'm going to be talking about eventually when the screen shares is actually, Katie, is it possible for you to potentially pull up the slides? Like, so stop my screen share. Okay. It won't let me see anything though still, so I don't know how to approach this.
I already have you up on your slides.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay,
Is it
so
showing?
I'm gonna
It's showing.
no, not for me.
Okay.
What I'm gonna do is if you're Leslie, can you see the slides? Oh wait, everything just turned green. Maybe I'm good.
Oh, yep. Magic.
Okay.
You just had to threaten someone else using it.
But who is the one sharing right now? Is it Katie or is it me? It's Katie. Okay, cool.
Katie is. Okay.
All right, let me pull up my notes for a second and then I will be able to actually talk and present. So Katie, we can go on to slide number 3. That's me. Okay. So in an overview, I'm going to talk a bit about what's been happening over the year so far with particular focus on this semester and the district convention season. So some of that includes expansion work. We've had a lot of work done by the curriculum committee and discussion with our district convention membership committees, and then a ton of behind the scenes support. So then I'm going to talk a little bit deeper about the strategic plan for the sorority overall and talk about how we went from that vision statement and strategic plan down to individual membership goals. And then I have some of my own areas of focus to help support those goals that I hope to work on through this year. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about what to expect for this upcoming year, broken down by the fall, the summer, the fall, and then the winter and the spring. So Katie, we can go to the next slide. So first off, I want to share a big welcome back. We got to see both of their installation ceremonies, which was very exciting, but a welcome to the Theta Gamma and Iota Gamma chapters who were reinstalled last month. I want to give also a big shout out and a thank you to Leslie for getting this process going with the 2 chapters while she was in the VPME position, and also to our petitioning group, or our other petitioning group advisors, that's Marissa Kedley-Bergman, Misty Lovejoy, Caleb Morris, Dr. Thea Murphy, and Elizabeth Richmond for their support of the 2 groups. If anyone here is from Theta Gamma or Iota Gamma, we are very excited to have you as part of our active chapter roster again, and we're excited to see all that will come for you. Next slide. Yeah. So as I said, during the recent district conventions, a few questions were posed from the curriculum committee to the membership committees. And a lot of these questions were intended to help guide the curriculum committee's future work. So with regard to overture, there were 2 questions. The first focused on language within the curriculum itself, and the other focused on DEIA concepts and inclusion. So in general, there's definitely opportunities for improving language, especially around discussion questions and some of the activity framing, just to have more thoughtful conversation amongst college-age students, and just changing the types of activities that we're asking everyone to do. And with regard to inclusion and DEIA concepts, members also talked about a big positive change in moving the HBCU information and acronyms to earlier on in the process so that they were familiar with this important part and aspect of our organization right from the beginning. There were, with regard to DEIA, still some concerns about accessibility, both within the document and in the types of activities. So all of that is going to be brought forward to the committee, or has been actually, and we're going to make some of those changes hopefully for this upcoming year. for our continuing education. So earlier this year, Rondo, the National Continuing Education Program, was rolled out as a resource for chapters to utilize. The committee talked about how they're utilizing Rondo at the chapter level, as well as some general feedback. In general, there wasn't a lot of chapter participation with the resource yet. It's in the first year, so that makes perfect sense. And there's an opportunity for us to continue to improve it by making sure that all up-to-date language and positions are being referenced, and having some more engaging activities that are moving away from reading a resource and talking about it, and more so into having deeper conversation and doing activities or more active research as part of learning. And then our final question that was taken on was really a big one, and it's focused on the educators. So we wanted to know more about what was needed for educators to be able to execute the MEP. And so members shared in this committees that there's a desire for a more ready-to-use resource or lesson plan. So basically you pick up the document, you're ready to use it, you have the slide templates, you have suggested talking points, all as a kind of suite to be able to execute a lesson. And then this is not a part of the questions, but it was another discussion point in many of the committees. There was discussion around streamlining activities into an online resource. So we'll hear about that in like 3 slides. But as I mentioned earlier, the curriculum committee is already working on a lot of these changes and other updates with regard to Overture for the upcoming academic year. So we'll be able to see a lot of those changes very soon. And then the rest of the work that's been happening so far is behind the scenes. And as you see, this is a nice word cloud of all of the different things that have come up just in the past couple of months. So what is really exciting about the district convention season and the spring term is that as members are present at these engaging events, they have sparks of ideas and questions and wanting to be able to push their chapters forward. And that generates really great conversation. It also sometimes shines a flashlight onto areas where a chapter maybe isn't operating how they should be or how they could be. And then there's a need for further conversation about how to approach tough conversations, how to make sure that everyone's involved in the chapter, how to approach elections, officer transitions. You basically name a topic and it has come up in the past couple of months around the district convention season, and those conversations will continue. It's a great thing about this summer. While we're not necessarily in an operations mode at the chapter level, we have the time to have thoughtful conversation, to plan, and to work together a bit for a really successful next academic year. So that'll keep going. As Kelsey introduced a little bit, we also have a strategic plan for the sorority. So during the 2021-2023 biennium, the national leadership team, including the National Council, Board of Trustees, and the TBSAA Executive Council, worked together on establishing a new vision statement that guides our goals for the next decade. And it also allowed us to set out some specific goals to work toward in achieving that vision. So I already said that part. We can actually go to the next slide. Sorry. So for the strategic plan with regard to membership, there were 4 specific goals that came out. So the first is a consistent membership base. So this looks like members being engaged throughout the college experience. So not just becoming initiated and then going inactive or having a lot of burnout, being able to retain people basically from initiation through graduation. It also is effective recruitment support, so utilizing best practice tactics and resources at the chapter level, and also being in partnership with directors of bands and other members of the School of Music or larger band community to identify excellent potential members. Another goal is expanded education resources. So this is both for continuing education and initiate or initial member education, having resources that are able to guide these processes and also embrace creativity whenever that's possible at the chapter level. And the last of the 4 goals is regarding strategic expansion. So this is ensuring that we have a long-term plan for being able to expand to other potential schools and using a series of resources and a long-term plan to get those conversations started. So it's, strategic expansion and controlled growth. Then some areas of focus for me, and it's really not in addition to goals. I think of each of these things as a complement to the goals that have been set forth from the strategic plan. So the first is chapter and member support, really approaching it from a holistic nature within our national leadership team. So this will look like proactive engagement with the district counselors, regular connection with both chapters and directors of bands, and then coordinating other support from our experts in different areas across the national leadership team. For a partnership with the directors of bands and sponsors, something that I feel really strongly is that success for Tau Beta Sigma means that members are engaged as musicians, as leaders of their bands and on their campus, and they're also actively engaged in the sororities programming and the mission-driven activities. So the directors of bands and sponsors are one of our arms and resources to ensure that each of those three things happens. So having a better connection with them so they see our goals, we can see their goals for the band program, and then meet in the middle to ensure that those happen. And then the third area of focus that I have that I can't really control, my brain just does it anyway, is process refinement. So wanting to make sure that all of our resources and processes have been reviewed with like a critical eye, making sure that everything is up to date, relevant to our current practices. And then throughout this whole process, just being able to continue professionalizing ourselves as an organization. Whew, that was a bunch of talking. So now let's talk about this year. So all that's to come. This biennium is, of course, unique with the transition of national officers, not even midway, earlier than midway through. So because of this, I also have thought about how to plan out goals for the VPME role for myself and for the council, and thinking about this in what can be done immediately versus what can be started that are more longer term initiatives. So I know that some of the work that's going to happen in this upcoming year is just the first steps in probably a 10, 20-yard, mile-long set of goals. And that type of work is just as important as the things that we'll be able to start and finish within the next couple of months or within the next year. So for this year, I'm thinking of it as a year in 3 parts. So the summer is going to focus primarily on immediate needs for the 2024-2025 year and kicking off some of the long-term projects that we've identified that I'm about to share. And then the fall, the winter, and the spring are going to be, of course, meeting chapters where they have needs and giving support, but also transitioning into a more active phase for the longer-term projects so we can start to make progress. Katie, there's a lot of clicks that are about to come your way, just so you know. So first, we're going to talk about summer 2024. So this is what you can expect in the next few months. First is, of course, Overture and Rondo updates. So these will be released really within the next month and within the next couple of weeks. Rondo will actually be later, but Overture very soon. The MEP form updates and release will also happen within the next few weeks. We're also working, and this we is the curriculum committee, are working on a recruitment resource for chapters to utilize for best practices, as well as how DOBs and sponsors can be supportive. They're also going to be establishing an expansion committee, so a group of individuals who are informed about the process, have good institutional knowledge for our organization, and can assist in that strategic expansion and review of prospective chapters. We're also working on a presentation show guidance and additional resources. So currently the presentation shows or probate shows are included in the MEP form kind of as a do you do this, what is the date type of information. And we want to expand that a bit to have more information within Overture and within our MEP resources about if your chapter is doing this, here's what it can look like. If your chapter is already doing this, here are best practices. So that it's not just a, hey, it's okay that we do these, but that it's something that's embraced and that any chapter can also participate in and understand the history of. And the last is a petitioning group process review and update. So Leslie and I met with the spring 2024 petitioning group advisors last week, I think, to talk a little bit about where we want to see the process, make some updates to be a bit more streamlined. So that's going to take place through a lot of conversations this summer and hopefully be able to be implemented in the fall. All right, I have to catch up on my notes because I started not scrolling with you, Katie. So for longer term projects, as I mentioned, the fall, winter, and spring portion of the year is going to be either starting or continuing the work with some of our longer term projects to reach our vision. So for educational updates, there's been a lot of conversation about the activities, and one of the goals is to transition it from the PDF format that it's currently in into an online database that can be more readily updated and filterable. We also have a plan to host some regular forums for chapters to be able to submit their activities that they utilize, and have it be considered for inclusion within the database. For our chapter member and resource enhancement, this is really actually kind of wider than membership and expansion. It looks at all of our resources for chapters and members. So from petitioning group members to membership candidates to active chapters to chapter officers to district officers to national leaders, having a consistent language and set of resources that we're all speaking back to the same thing. So the same budget template that's being utilized, or the same suggestions about how we approach attendance policies. Not that it has to be cookie cutter from chapter to chapter, but being able to all refer back with the same language and the same expectations. There was also work that was started last biennium on a leadership development program. It was something I was very excited about. So that's something else that's going to continue for member resources. And then the final long-term project is establishing the expansion committee. I talked about that already though, so we can scurry right along. Another personal goal that I have for this year is focused around skill building and coalition building for our leadership and our volunteer teams. So for membership and expansion, our success is really dependent on a few different groups of people. So I wanted to just recognize the district counselors, the curriculum committee, the district vice presidents for membership. Even the brand new elected ones are already hard at work supporting the districts, the to be formed expansion committee, and the student resource development committees. They'll be really key in us being able to achieve a lot of these goals, both within membership and expansion and overall. And there are also many others who will impact our larger vision. And some of those other people are each of you. So our active chapters, our active members, you really have the best hand and the firsthand experience of what Tau Beta Sigma looks like on your in your chapter and on your campus. So I hope that you each take advantage of any opportunities you have to share feedback, ask questions, participate in programs, because really with each of you participating and sharing what you have, that helps to push our sorority forward. So that was a whole lot of big thoughts and a lot of long-term projects, but now we've got to get down to the important things for right now. So what's next? June 1st will be the date when we release the updated overture document, the MEP form, and also when the Discord channel is going to be released. We're going to move away from the Facebook group that's been utilized over the past handful of years and move to the Discord channel, similar to the Focus on 5 campaign. On August 1st is the deadline for all fall MEP programs to be received. So if you have plans for recruitment to take place earlier in August, you need to submit earlier so that way your counselors are able to review and approve ahead of time. And then things to look forward to for summer and fall is there will be a lot of recruitment and education support from the district counselors for their outreach. Some of that has started already, especially for the VPMs. And the curriculum committee. We're going to have, especially in the Discord channel, some real-time feedback opportunities for overture. And then, as I said, there's work being done in the background on Rondo to talk a bit more about implementation and updating activities. And now, since everyone apparently had a series of photos in the final slide, I also have mine. These are just a few photos from this past district convention season, either from the membership committee or nominations committee and other people that have really built the membership experience for this past year. So I wanted to highlight them and also say I can't apparently take a selfie and include my face fully in it. I'll work on it. And then for the last slide, it is just my contact information. So if you want to take out your phone and scan the QR code, it'll go to a digital business card. If you don't want to do that and you simply want to just know how to spell my name and put it into every single social media application, go for that. I did also include a special Instagram handle at the end for my cat. We're working on her presence. It's Here's Johnny with 5 E's. But with that, I am very happy to answer any questions that you may have either tonight in the chat or in any of these media. And thank you again, Katie, for putting this all together. And for sharing my screen because of the absolute chaos that my computer was.
All right, Let's see, do we have any questions? Oh, just love for Johnny, of course. All right. Well, thank you, Allison, since you actually laid all of the groundwork for this event back in the summer and fall of this past year. And so it made it really easy for me to just pick up because of your detail-oriented nature. So thank you for that. Our last thing we're going to do is listen to the affirmation, and then I will drop the attendance and feedback form into the chat, and we will call it a night. So here we are with the affirmation. All right. Again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Hopefully you heard something new, felt inspired by something, or just enjoyed taking a break from your daily week to week, whatever you've got going on. So I will drop the attendance form into the chat once oops, it made me log back in. Hang on. All right. So please make sure you fill that out, and then Leslie, Allison, Kelsey, did y'all have anything else to add before we go for the evening? No? All right. Well, again, please make sure you fill out the form so you get your credit for being here, and we will talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.
You gotta do the Latoya rainbow. I was just scrolling to see if you were still here, because if not, I was gonna text you.
I'm here. I just typed in the chat. Good night to everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Shall we stop recording, please?